It's an interesting group to work with we've got. I just read an article today. I kind of done the numbers in my head, but I've got the exact numbers right now. We've got 109 guys that are practicing, which is about the number that we want to be at from a squad size standpoint, and 73 of those guys are either new to our program this year or were new to our program last year. So that tells you how young of a football team that we've got. And, you know, that's a little scary as you head into Missouri Valley Conference kind of schedule and what I think is a very strong non-conference schedule because we're obviously going to be one of the least experienced teams in terms of our depth in the league. At the same time, you know, I've always been a firm believer that young teams have the opportunity to get better in a hurry, and that's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to continue to improve and rely on that core nucleus of experienced guys that we've got. And I'll just touch a little bit on you know, some of those areas that we are experienced, because I think they are, without question, the strength of our football team. And a great place to start is at quarterback. And even though Chris Screvler counts as one of those guys that was new to our program 2 years ago, he returns as a starter, a guy that if you watched him at all last year, you know he's a very exciting player to watch, true dual threat at quarterback, and a guy that has worked really hard through the course of this last year to improve as a passer. And hopefully that will be the thing that you notice this year, is he's not only a guy that can pull the ball down and run 80 yards for a touchdown, which he did a couple of times last year, but also a guy that does a better job of distributing the football in the passing game and making more plays for us through the air. His backup is also a guy that's won games in the league. Austin Simmons, who came in last year and led us to a big win over Illinois State at home. A guy that honestly throws the ball probably better than Chris. And has a lot of things that's going to make him a great quarterback in our league. And so to have that kind of depth in that position is a really great place to start offensively. We've got 3 returning starters in the offensive line that combined have over 50 starts. A group that is going to be filled in around them with some younger guys, including 2 new starters. We had a 4th returning starter there by the name of Ed Kennedy, who struggled through the spring with an injury situation that we've tried to see if we could find a way to get him to what would have been his 5th year. He ended up having to have surgery late in the summer that is going to keep him out of football for his last year. But, you know, that group has worked together throughout the course of the spring and fall camp, because Ed was not available for spring practice, and feel good about where that group is and their ability to further develop together as a group of 5. And that's a position group. The more they play together, the better they're going to get. And those returning guys will bring those young guys along. On the offensive side, we're also very experienced at wide receiver and tight end. And you're going to see probably as many as 9, 10 guys play in a game at those positions. Our tight ends are very versatile athletes. You'll see them in positions as a receiver. You'll see them in positions in the backfield. You'll see them in positions as a traditional tight end. There'll be times when you'll see a couple of them on the field at the same time, to go along with a group of 8, 9 wide receivers that we have confidence in, and all of whom played a year ago, some playing as true freshmen. Certainly the seniors there, Brad Van Rokel, Riley Donovan, and Alonjay Brooks are all guys that had good numbers last year, along with the young slot guys, Tristan Becker and Randy Baker and Shamar Jackson, who's been in our program now for 3 years. So a position that's very deep where we can rotate guys, keep fresh legs on the field, which when you're playing a high-tempo offense, it's good to be able to do. Running back, the only guy that's carried the football for us in a game coming back is Michael Frederick. And Michael's stronger, bigger. He's about 10 pounds heavier than what he was a year ago. I think they'll be more durable and a little more versatile as a result. But we've got some young guys that I think are going to have a lot of fun watching over the next 4 years at that position. Ben Klett, who's a 225-pound running back, he's a redshirt freshman, a true freshman by the name of Kai Henry out of Miami, who is going to get some reps and get some playing time as a true freshman, both in the return game and at running back. And then we've got another bigger back who's actually from Alaska by the name of Ethan Falanico. And he probably will not travel with us this week. Had a death in the family and had to go back to Samoa for a funeral and is not scheduled to get back from the funeral until tomorrow, and we'll see how he's feeling. I mean, he'll have 2 straight days of traveling coming back from Samoa, so there'll probably be a chance that he will not travel with us this week. On the defensive side, our experience is in the secondary. 2 corners, Adam Harris and Danny Rambo. I think as good of any combination at that position in the league. We're going to rely on those guys to play more man-to-man coverage, which is going to allow us to do some things differently defensively and play more defenders against the run, because that's the number one thing that we've got to do defensively is be a better rush defense. We gave up way too many yards on the ground last year to be a team that consistently could win those close games. And so that'll be a change in scheme that you're going to see from us. And we haven't been very secretive about it, but we're going to play more man-to-man coverage and put pressure on our secondary guys where we've got experience. The other position group, the return of John Wessels, who would have been one of our leaders from Sioux Falls, would have been one of our leaders at the linebacker position last year. Was hurt early in the year, came back for game 3, and on, I think, the second play, Joe, of game 3, got hurt and missed the entire year. Fortunately, was granted a hardship year, and so he's back for his 4th year at linebacker to go along with Jim LaTrenta, who played really well at the end of the year, another senior linebacker. A couple other guys that played in starting roles and reserve roles there back, so that's a position group that also has to be a position group that demonstrates a lot of improvement against the run. We've got a little bit of experience up front, but you're also going to see some young guys there. And I think that's going to go a long ways to determine how much better we are defensively, is how much those young guys on defense in the front 4 improve as we go through the course of the year. We've got a couple of really good pass rushers in Cameron Klein, who played as a true freshman, and Darren Greenfield, who played a lot as a redshirt freshman last year. Inside, we're still a little bit undersized from where we need to be, but we've got some guys that are very active and we can move around, led by Taylor Lambert, who's a converted fullback. We converted him from fullback to defensive tackle a year ago, and you know, when you look at him, he's, I don't know, we say he's 5'10". He probably is close to that. He weighs about 265 pounds, but he's the strongest guy on our football team and moves really, really well, and he's very disruptive. And as long as we can, you know, put him in situations where he doesn't have to play every down, he'll make a lot of plays for us through the year. You know, the other question I get is, you know, Coach, what are you going to do in the kicking game? Because we've been fortunate, you know, to have a guy as good and as multiple as Miles Bergner. You know, I honestly still can't believe he hasn't made an NFL roster. I mean, I thought he was, you know, without question, you know, certainly the most elite specialist that I've ever had the opportunity to work with. And it still may happen. You never know. Somebody, you know, some head coach may get mad at their kicker the first week and be looking for another one. But you know, so it's been competition and good competition at both those positions. Brady Shutt from Orange City, Iowa, is going to do the punting on Saturday against Drake. He was Miles' backup a year ago, and the kicking duties, we may split it out a little bit, but we've got Ethan James from Vermillion. He's been Miles' backup the last 2 years, and then we had a graduate transfer student who's in graduate school by the name of Ryan Weiss from the University of Kansas, and he missed about a week and a half of practice. He had a little pulled muscle, and I used to kid him. I said, kicker with a pulled muscle is like a horse with a bad leg. They're not much good. And so he got healthy in a hurry after he heard what happens to horses with bad legs. And now he's looked pretty good here the last week. So, excited to as we move forward here, to see how he'll be able to impact our team here right away. Going down to Drake on Saturday, what's really going to be interesting about that game is, we're a very young football team, and they are just the opposite. I think they start, I looked in there too deep, and I think they're somewhere in the neighborhood of 14, 15 redshirt seniors or redshirt juniors. So they're a very experienced team. The league that they're in, and everybody goes, well, it's a non-scholarship league. I'm telling you, that league has gotten a lot better. And San Diego, who won that league a year ago, won a first-round game in the national playoffs. Drake has traditionally been one of the top teams in that league, and it's going to be a great test for us to go down there. The kind of game that we're going to have to go out and play well on the road, which is what you want your first games to be, where you have to go out and execute and do things right. Because as we look down the road, then it's Bowling Green, and then 7 of our final 9 games are against teams that are right now ranked in the top 25 in the country. And so basically anytime you come over to the Dome to watch a home game, you're going to be seeing us play one of the top 25 teams in the country. And it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a great year. We've got a group that's really worked hard. We had over 95% of our guys that were there all summer long, which is basically our entire returning roster and the vast majority of our incoming guys that were in Vermillion all summer working together. And I just think that shows you the kind of commitment and excitement that our guys have for the future of South Dakota football.